Most lawmakers never even read the more than 4,000-page spending bill they just passed. It's straight out of Nancy Pelosi's playbook. Pass it to find out what's in it. The top line number, $1.7 trillion. That's a lot of zeros on the screen. And the spending spree comes as Americans are struggling through sky-high inflation. Joining us now is member of the House Appropriations Committee, California Congressman Mike Garcia. Congressman, it's great to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mercedes. Appreciate it.
Let's get right to it. The Senate just passed this legislation, sending it to the House. First of all, have you, or anyone for that matter, have you all read this 4,155-page ginormous document? And two, how will you be voting on this?
Yeah, I'll be voting against it. Obviously, it's physically impossible to have read this bill, right? It's 4,155 pages, and if you read, 250 words per minute, it would take you close to 60 hours if you read nonstop since the time we got this bill, Monday night, right? So literally impossible to have not just read it, but fully digested what's in this bill. And what's more egregious is the fact that nearly 200 members of Congress didn't even show up this week to vote for it themselves or vote against it themselves or to participate in the debates, right? So this is a massive problem. It's $1.7 trillion, and when you do the math, that's the equivalent of about $409 million per page. And this is in comparison to previous year's budgets from, call it 2008 all the way up to 2018. The similar budget would have been $1.3 trillion, which is still an awful lot of taxpayer money. But to do it this late in the game without any real due diligence and opportunity to actually digest the bill and to have such a flagrant number at 1.7, this is only going to aggravate the inflation problem and make things tougher for the average American.
It is. Thanks for the breakdown, Congressman. And in times like these, myself personally, I really do like to just say, God bless Senator Rand Paul. He put out this photo on Twitter showing all 4,155 pages you spoke of, and it read, hazardous debt. Economist Steve Moore says the federal government is running annual $1 trillion to $2 trillion budget deficits, which is more than the entire gross domestic product of most nations. What could and should Republicans be doing to fight this?
Well, it's tough when you're in the minority, but I'll give some of the senators credit. They did try to offer amendments to try to slow this train down. The absolute worst thing they could have been doing is voting for it. And it's heartbreaking as an appropriator myself, who we went through the appropriations process. We fought these battles, and in many cases in the House side, we actually won a lot of these fights, and these bills were brought down. And in many cases, we got amendments added to our version. So to see the Senate just simply roll over, and to see this many Republicans vote for something that they know is fiscally unsound, that they know from a process perspective is just not right. This isn't how you govern. This isn't not only how you legislate, but this is not how you budget for a government like ours. And it's heartbreaking to watch from the House and the minority right now. This is the benefit of getting the majority. We're going to start undoing some of this damage, but like Reagan said, there's nothing as close to eternal life as a government program. And the problem is when you start budgeting at $1.7 trillion, it's very difficult to come off of that number. And this is gonna make our job even tougher when we have the majority next year. We're going to do it.
Right.
We're going to look like the bad guys in some cases, but this is for the future of the nation.
Yeah, great point. Congressman, you're a former fighter pilot. You flew over 30 combat missions during Operation Iraqi Freedom. I have to get your reaction to Zelensky's address to Congress last night as the House shifts to Republican control in the new year. Here's just a portion of that message. Take a listen.
Ukraine never asked the American soldiers to fight on our land instead of us. Your money is not charity. It's an investment in the global security and democracy that we handle in the most responsible way.
You were on the floor during this speech. Did he make a good case for more support from the U.S.?
He did. He makes good points, and he's right. Americans are now not fighting Russians, which is a mission that we frankly have been training to for the last 40 or 50 years throughout the Cold War, and even today they were a near-peer threat until we saw the Ukrainian make progress against the Russians the way they did. So this is a good thing. We're beating down the Russians. But I do like his second point. This is an investment. So as an investor, if I were to buy a stock or any other investment, I get quarterly reports, right? I get updates on how this investment is performing. Not only where is the money going to, but how's it being spent? What am I getting as a return on that investment? And what I think we're going to see when we get the majority in the next year as Republicans in the House especially is that we're not necessarily going to be against supporting the Ukrainian efforts, but there has to be a limit to this sort of endless debit card that we've given them, and more importantly, there has to be accountability. I want to know, as an appropriator, as a former warfighter myself, that these weapons are going to the front line, that there aren't third-party transfers to other actors, other nations, that the money and the humanitarian material is being spent appropriately. I want to know that they're going to win. I want to know what their plan is. And when we invest to the tune of $116 billion, which is about a fifth of our own DoD budget in a given year, we have the right to know that plan. We have a right to know where those weapons are being used, what the outcomes of these battles are, and to be basically neck deep in their strategic and tactical planning. And so that's what I'm hoping to hear. I think he gave the speech on the wrong continent. He should have been within Europe talking to the EU members, asking them for more support. I'm glad that he's grateful. This is American taxpayer dollars, and we have saved this country with our dollars. The question is, how long are we going to do this, and what are we going to do to now save our own country from our own border security issues we have on our southern border?
Congressman Garcia, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for your service. Really appreciate it.